Hello, everyone. Welcome to History with Hirsaphat. I'm your host, Chris, aka Hirsaphat. The title of today's episode is The Beneficial Sounds of Music, where we'll be discussing the many benefits that music plays in our daily lives. The views shared on this podcast come from your everyday, ordinary people. My hope is that it'll give unique perspective on history. Future podcasts are going to be doing the year 1997, 1998, and 1999, finishing out the decade of the 90s. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Today we actually have two new guests. So a new thing for us. We usually have maybe one at a time, but we've got two. We're fortunate today. They are Ray and Christian. They have joined us today. We thank you for that. And as we do, we usually go through our 10 questions for new people. So we're going to do a bit different here. We're going to give them each the same question and wait for their answers. So if you guys say hello, how you guys doing, all that jazz, and we'll get started. First question for both of you. What is your favorite sound?
Hmm.
Is that
I
it?
feel-
Is that
I feel like
No, that is not the sound.
Ray's the older one, so I feel like he should go first.
Oh,
okay.
geez.
Okay.
I'm respecting my elders.
This is going to be a cliche sound, but it's actually the sound of my son running into it. I hate it because it means I have to wake up, but at the same time, it's the best sound. He slams the door open, and then you hear his feet running into
Yep.
our bedroom. So that would be my favorite sound right now in my time of life.
Christian.
Yeah. Cliche is what I'm going for too. So I'm gonna say the sound of silence.
Ooh.
Because it's probably the most it's the most like substantial and abrupt sound there is. You know what I mean? Like you don't feel like more creepy than when you go outside and there's just complete silence. And then like in music, some of the best parts of music are silence. So
Yeah.
That's true.
What would your
Nice.
least favorite sound be?
My least favorite sound in general, it's when someone sings off key, but more specifically, it's when I hear a recording of myself and I sing off key. Oh my God, that is the worst sound in my life.
Yeah.
I want to blow my brains out.
Christian.
you know, like what are like jackets made out of, like back in the day, like windbreakers?
So like that swish.
Like the like that vinyl or like Velcro or something. I don't know what the fuck it is, but like my kids have this keyboard that's made like that you stomp on, that's made of that fucking sound, and I tell them like you can't play with that fucking toy when I'm around. So.
Is it like the big piano, like from the movie Big?
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
like that,
okay.
but it's a roll-up one, and it's made of like that shit that like windbreakers and shit are made out of.
Right.
What is your
funny
favorite word? What is your favorite word?
Well, we've had this conversation that my favorite word was cellar door, but someone stole that from me. So I have to think about that now.
We can go to Christian.
God, that's fucking lame, Ray.
Yeah, what? What? Yeah, go to Christian and I'll think about it.
Cellar door, like everyone knows that's the one that everyone says is like the perfect pronunciation of words.
It's just got a smooth sound to it.
It's just because it's from Tolkien.
I don't know what my favorite word is. Maybe just like I love when things have K sounds.
Okay.
Just like hard consonants and
I guess so. I don't know, man. Like
well, I mean, there's
maybe sex.
You said it's funny. Sex. Sex. I mean, that's a perfectly normal, fine word to choose for your favorite word there. If that's a big.
I mean, I guess
I think that's a lot of people's favorite words, honestly.
Yeah.
So
I feel like fuck would be a fair one. Like to me, just like it's so fucking versatile. You know what I mean? Like, see, I used it.
Yeah.
So.
So are you going to settling on fuck? Are you settling on sex?
Yeah, I'm gonna settle on fuck.
Okay. Okay.
Nice.
Even though knowing my parents might listen to this.
Oh God, your parent. Oh,
Well, you've already said it a few times, so
yeah. I'm sure they're
Yeah.
aware.
Probably shouldn't be drinking wild turkey while podcasting.
That's all
oh
right.
Lord. This is gonna be another cliche, but I'm gonna go with I'm in Alan Watts mode right now. So would be probably my
Ah.
favorite word at the
Hmm.
moment.
Okay. Yeah. What's your least favorite word?
Used to be moist, but it's kind of growing on me a little bit.
Yeah.
So uh it's gotta be that, but that it's only in certain contexts. So
Yeah.
if you're talking about cake, cool. Meat can be moist. Anything else gets I get a little like
Queasy.
tingly in my yeah.
Okay.
So it'd be
Uh,
moist.
Christian,
My
least
least
fa-
favorite word.
least favorite word.
Ah, shit. I think maybe like right or correct. And I guess that goes more with like the notion of it, but like the word, I guess, just being like, that's right. You know what I mean?
I see. I see what you're
Wait,
saying.
not like if someone's like, right?
Well, I mean, that's fucking annoying as hell too. I mean,
The many uses for the word right.
yeah. Just when somebody thinks they're right. So I guess like
Oh,
correct
I
or
got it.
right.
I get
Oh,
you.
like there
Okay.
is no right or there is no. I got
Yeah,
you.
they're
Yeah.
somebody thinks that they're right or they're
Yeah.
saying something. There is like truth to what they're saying.
Gotcha. All right. What's your favorite curse word? Can be in any language.
Well, Christian, we are no Christians now, but I used to hate it once. I used to hate cunt,
Yeah.
but I think since I've been watching more British shows, like I think that's it now. I kind of love it. Now I don't say it
Right.
because people around me would
They
probably
don't
not
watch
like it
nearly
very
as
much.
right.
Yes,
BBC as you. Right.
but like Ricky Gervais, I watched some of his stand up, and I'm like, man, it's starting to grow up. Like I used to be like, ugh,
Right.
but yeah, I think cunt is it.
The same way, I think, and for the exact same
Mhm.
reason too. I watched a lot of just British TV, whether it's I don't know, it's like the In-Betweeners. Like there's many different types of like shows on BBC, including Ricky Gervais, which basically started the whole thing, or
Mhm.
Monty Python, but they didn't really use words like that necessarily. But the way that they use it, it's like almost like a term of endearment in a way.
In a way, right?
Yeah, they
I
don't
can't
think of it in
pull
the
it
same
off the
way.
way
Yeah.
they can,
Yeah.
so I don't try, but maybe I will.
Okay.
Well, it's funny you guys say that because bloody is actually my favorite curse word.
There you go.
Okay.
But I just never use it.
Right, because you can't pull it off.
No, I can't.
Yeah, but maybe you should try.
All right.
No, it would just sound like fucking idiot. You know what I
Then you got to say bloody. You can't say bloody.
mean? Right.
Okay. If move on to the next question here. Aside from what you're doing now, if there's any other profession that you would like to do? For example, some people would like to be, I don't know, an NBA star or something like that, or play a sport professionally, as opposed to what they do now. Is there any profession that you want to do if you could?
So I think this is one where you did the same answer as I have, which is something with music. I wouldn't want to be like a hugely popular
Hmm.
whatever, but I would love to like do music for movies and stuff would be so cool.
Oh yeah.
I would love to do something like that. And if I can make a living doing that, that'd be amazing.
Right. Christian?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even think of anything interesting to say for that one.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, basically the same. I was, was music I'd like to do. I'd like to do a little bit of a bunch of stuff. I don't want to be like pigeonholed. But if I had to do one thing, it would be music. There's so many things. I was
Mhm.
just like, all right, I do that. I can handle that. What profession would you not like to do?
Oh, probably what is that called? Where they clean basically the sewage. A sewage.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but so there's horror stories, and actually millwrights do work there sometimes. But there's horror stories, about taking like chisels and chiseling shit off of like pipes and shit and stuff. And I would other than like any kind of job that requires killing people, that would probably be the worst.
Right.
Worst. That would be awful.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a concentration camp guard.
That would be awful. It's so bad.
Oh man.
Where do you apply for that? I mean,
You don't.
I don't know that you apply. I just don't know that we're that far off from that anyway. So
Oh
Right.
man. It's like a temp agency or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Monster
you gotta go
.com.
there. You're not gonna get
Monster.com.
unemployment if you don't go there.
Oh jeez. I mean, good answer. I wasn't expecting that one.
That's
all right.
great.
What I believe the question reads like what kind of like what turns you on, but I don't mean like in that way. But what lifts your spirits? What gets your juices flowing? What yeah, I pretty much explains it. Yeah. What gets you going?
It's such a vague answer, but like stuff that's inspiring.
Mhm.
But it could be any like that new release of Alan Watts with Sigur Rós, and he's talking through meditation. Like even just that, like I got chills, and I'm just like, oh yeah, stuff like that, where it really makes me like see the beauty of existence. I guess.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Christian?
yeah, I guess mine would coincide with that a bit, but mostly I think it's when I'm in a position where I'm either doing music or just literally being there for a friend, and they show their vulnerabilities, and like literally like just kind of cry out to you. That seems to inspire me more than anything, that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Gotcha. Interesting. What deflates you? What brings you down? Deflates your spirits?
I probably shouldn't talk about my wife tonight. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You bring her up at that point. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Will she listen? Because if she doesn't listen, I think go ahead.
I think she will,
all right.
but she'll get the joke.
Hopefully. We'll find out. Well, hopefully something that inspires her is like in her same vein as what you said, and she'll be inspired by you crying and be like, please don't. You'd be like, all right, show me your vulnerable side. You're okay. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah. But no, what deflates you? What brings you down?
I would say myself.
Yeah.
Like the procrastination and things, where,
Yeah.
stuff that I know I am capable of doing and I don't do it. That in thinking about that deflates me. That I guess that would be it. Which is funny. You would think it would like maybe make me get off my ass and do it. But instead it's like, oh, you miserable cunt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, that's it. Yeah.
So were you going with your wife then, Christian? Was that your answer?
No.
Okay.
No, and the chance that she ever listens to this. No, I'm just kidding. You deflates me other than Tom Brady.
Oh, God.
Probably shit. It's God damn it, Ray. Why do you have to go before me? I should have.
It was your idea. It was your idea.
I know it was. I should have guessed that he would just say everything I would like to say.
And that's why I wanted to make that rule where you couldn't do it, but that wouldn't be true to yourself. So I was like, no, that would be counterproductive to what I'm trying to do.
Right.
Yeah.
What deflates me, I guess, is to go off something a little different, is seeing the defeat in others. and wanting them to be something that they know that they can be.
Gotcha. Okay. And the last question is, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates? Assuming it's him there. That part of the question's always bothered me.
Why it doesn't have to be God, but that's just
Right.
it's
St.
just a
Peter.
placeholder for whatever
Yeah.
words you want. Yeah. Him, her, it. I would like it to say, "What'd you think?
Hmm.
Would you like to go again?"
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Christian?
So this is assuming that we weren't the creator of all of this.
It's I guess it'd make whatever assumption you have. What would you like? Whatever version of God you have,
I mean, if
or
you
idea
were the
of that.
creator, you would be the one asking yourself it. So the question's still.
Yeah. What would you like to hear in your
Well,
head?
if it was myself, I guess I would go, was that all you had?
Right. It's like, yeah, kind of reminds me of mine. Where I just asked for an apology. Seemed to be funny.
Wait, Christian, like, what do you mean? Like, is that all you got, or is it like, in what way do you mean that?
Well, in a sense, isn't that the same thing with your deflatement? Is you think you're wondering, you're procrastinating, you're wondering like, what haven't you done? What haven't you finished?
Oh, and he asked you that. That's all. That's all you
Yeah.
did. Oh no! What you? Oh man, that's bad.
Yeah, that's rough. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Christian. Welcome
Yeah.
to the show.
Yeah.
We will now jump into our weird news of the week, where we get started on our main topic here. And the title of the article is German police on the hunt for 60 containers of stolen bull sperm.
What?
Police-
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, say that one more time.
German police on the hunt for 60 containers, 60, of stolen bull sperm.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Like, what kind of containers are we talking? Are we talking just like little vials, or are we talking like big 50-gallon drums?
Oh, I don't know. They don't, this is a really short article. They don't really explain. I don't believe so. It
Oh.
looks like they're in a test tube of sorts, but that'd be insane. It says police in Western Germany are appealing for help in cracking a potentially very cold case. That's what I love about these articles, the way they're written. Authorities say about 60 containers. They don't say what those containers are and how much there is. Of
Mhm.
bull sperm were stolen from a farm in the town of Olfen, about 56 miles northeast of Cologne, late Monday or early Tuesday. It may not be Cologne, but that's how Cologne is spelled for me. Maybe Cologne. I don't know what it's in Germany. That's all I'm going to say. Police said in a statement Wednesday that while it's unclear how the rustle happened, the precious cargo needs to be supercooled with liquid nitrogen at a minus 196 Celsius, minus 320 Fahrenheit, so it isn't spoiled. They are seeking tips from the public that might lead to the recovery of the sperm, which was intended for artificial insemination. I hope so. I mean, I can't think of another reason why you have 60 containers of bull sperm if you're not using that for insemination. That is, yeah. So that's the weird news for the week.
Wow.
I don't know if there'll be anything. Yeah, there's no follow-up or anything.
Shit, this is present.
Yeah, this was December 8th. This past week, I guess. Yeah.
I love how they say Russell.
Yeah, it was Russell.
So I just imagine the dudes that stole it being like, "We're gonna rustle up some sperm, boys."
We're stealing what again? That's some valuable bull sperm. Jesus. All right. Well, that will do it for our weird news of the week. That was a short one.
That's funny.
And we will now move into the our topic of discussion. We'll start this off here. There's a documentary called Alive Inside, A Story of Music in Memory, and it tells the story of Dan Cohen, the founder of the nonprofit organization Music in Memory, as he fights against the healthcare industry to demonstrate music's ability to combat memory loss and restore a deep sense of self to those suffering from it. In the documentary, you see scenes of people suffering from memory loss, some of them bedridden, given headphones with music playing from their youth. Within a short time, the patients are dancing, singing, laughing, and recalling with pinpoint accuracy events from their life they weren't able to recall prior. The reason for why this is, as explained in the documentary, is that the part of our brain that stores music, so to speak, is not affected by memory loss diseases such as dementia and Alzheimer's. The transformations these people go through are quite extraordinary, and in my mind, only reaffirms music's importance in our daily lives. Have you guys seen that documentary? I'm pretty sure Ray
Mm-mm.
has. Yeah,
No.
Very long time ago.
I'm glad you're here, Jake, because I've never really had someone who, and I can't put you on the spot for medical stuff, but
It's all
you
good.
know, just that was an interesting thing to learn in the documentary, that our musical memory is not affected by these memory loss diseases. If I'm not even sure if you qualify, or I'm sure there's parts of that, but there's more to it than just that. I assume dementia and Alzheimer's being that. But yeah, they would put music in, like, let's say they're young person, like say 20 something years old in the 60s or whatever it was, and they play music from like a time in their life, and they recall that song, and they just light up, and they're just pretty much dormant. They don't remember much, they forget quickly, they need help doing almost everything. It's just, it's a real process, but they listen to that song and they're right back to where they were when they were 24, and they're able to recall which street they lived on, friends that they had. They can sing the lyrics. That's another thing, is like you never forget lyrics or a melody.
Mhm.
So I just, I don't know if one of the things in the documentary is how, like, the medical, or what does they say, like um the healthcare industry, I guess, is what they call it in the documentary. But like, they can get any pill they want. They can get them for any sort of like suffering in that regard. We can get you more medication, but he has to get iPods or something, like an MP3 player, and he had to like go through a bunch of red tape just to get that. It's just an
Oh man,
interesting, yeah,
that is very interesting.
yeah.
Which
I'm
is
not sure.
much cheaper than any other medication.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So there was one lady in particular. She was bedridden. She was just laying there. She just didn't really say much or anything. And they put some headphones on from when she was a kid, music playing or something like that, or just at least before the disease took over. And she starts like tapping her foot. She starts moving around a little bit. She's not like the grandpa in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, like jumping out, dancing around everywhere. But
Hopping right out of bed.
right, I don't know, because with any documentary, you got to figure there's some, just being reasonable about it, you got to figure there's some sort of like bending of how things actually went
Mm-hmm.
or whatnot. So I don't know how, because it doesn't, the documentary isn't weeks long. It's only like an hour and a half. So within a short time, I don't know how much time passed between when they started having them listen to music and of the positive effects that were shown thereafter. I'm not sure if it would be something right away, or who knows. They never really explained that in the documentary.
It's been a long time since I've watched it, and I don't remember exactly what their explanation was, but I think I recall them not really knowing why, but
Hmm.
that it was working. Yeah, but I don't know, you know what I mean? But I do know that they one of the largest links to any form of dementia, one of the biggest correlations is the loss of hearing. So the more people lose their hearing, the more likely they are to get one of these, Alzheimer's or dementia. And working with hearing, especially learning how to play music, helps people to remember and start to do things they never did or they haven't done for a long time. And I'm wondering with that documentary, if it's not even like that it's a music or whatever, it's that they get headphones and now they can actually hear something. Whereas if
Right,
there's music playing in the background, do they even hear it?
right.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just interesting to, I need to watch that again and kind of just see.
I don't even know if you might be able to buy it off of Amazon, like rent it, because it's like not streaming anywhere. Maybe like
I
two.
remember crying when I watched
Oh
it
yeah,
because
it
it was
was.
so
Yeah,
touching.
yeah, it really was. It's just like, oh man, because there's an elderly gentleman who's just like real quiet, doesn't say anything, and he starts listening to this songs from when he was younger, and he starts belting them out, and
Yeah,
like,
that's so
and he's so
crazy.
happy that he's able to do. He hasn't done this in years, and he's just belting out, and the people had no idea he could sing, and everyone in the nursing home is just kind of like clapping and laughing along, and all that stuff. It was just like one
Gosh.
of those things that
Man.
just, and I think that was one of the nurses that they were interviewing, was saying like, you can if someone's blood pressure is too high, you can give them a pill and it turns it down just a little bit, like these little dials and stuff like that. They described it as, you can turn this up, you can turn that down. But with the person like themselves, as part of the whole process was them being able to, like, you know, restore like the deep sense of self that they're saying. People,
Right.
they lose that
Right.
part of them, which I imagine is a huge part in the healing process, or at least counteracting the diseases that they do have.
Well, especially if it's a song
Well,
or
right.
music that they listened to when they were younger or whatever,
Hmm.
Like I bet if they put in, a modern or contemporary song, I wonder if it would affect them in the
Right.
same way. It probably would affect
Mhm.
them. They may
Mhm.
tap their feet or whatever, but are they going to start belting it out? No, because they don't know it.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I guess one of the, oh, you remember the movie with Robert De Niro?
Awakenings.
Yeah, and then the dude is trying to find what music works on all the different patients,
Mhm.
because it's not just any, it's not just Mozart. It worked on one patient or a few, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? And then he started finding funk for some of the patients because that's what they grew up listening to.
Mhm.
So that would be I would say it'd be worth it to be able to do that type of research into every patient and
Right.
then give them headphones with their playlist from their childhood,
Right. To go along with their medicine to help fight their blood
Right.
pressure. Right.
Right.
Yeah. You put it on that same level. I'm gonna say, Christian, have you seen that documentary? I'm sure you'd love it if you haven't.
I don't think I've actually watched the documentary. I've just seen a lot of things on it
Mhm.
around the same theme. Um what comes to mind too is like that study where the guy like hooks up heart monitors to people and sees when there's a certain song playing that their hearts start to go into the same rhythm.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But also what I think of is like, and I don't know if this is too fucking existential for whatever we're trying to talk about, but is, why does that, even that documentary, why does that affect us in the same way? Like, where are we in life where we're crying during this documentary? Like,
In
so
relation
these
to the people.
people, in the relation to the people, even, or just in relation to ourselves, like,
Mm.
why are we watching something of somebody trying to remember something and music touches them and then art touches us? You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I have not seen the documentary.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's accessible anywhere, or maybe, like I said, through Amazon, but definitely something worth checking out. Are there any instances where music has helped you recall a certain time in your life from your youth, which seems like a slow pitch across the plate here, but to think about, like, if I were in that, basically, if I was in that situation, what songs could they play for me, that would have helped me recall, and like, yeah, there's so many, like Paul Simon's "You Can Call Me Al," right? That's the first song that I remember like being a really big fan of, because my grandpa had it on cassette in his van or something. That I'd always ask him to play this album, and of course it's a cassette. I wait the whole album or whatever track it gets to that one song, and that was it. It was like 4 minutes of joy, and then it's like, all right, move on to the next thing. Um, Aside from that song, I can't think of. I can remember being in the van. I can remember almost the smell of like everything, just like the sort of like dusty old tape cassette thing, this leather bound. I think Ray has one in the house. I think his dad,
Yep.
yeah, it's the exact same thing. But you can just recall all that stuff. Like, I know with my father, he has difficulty recalling yesterday. But if you ask him about like Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath in the '70s, once he gets over the initial, ruffling of the feathers and talking about Satan, he will tell you about where he was, during that week, or when he remembers listening to it in the car. They were driving to go this place. They were going to do this. He remembers that week or that moment in his life, which otherwise would have seemed inconsequential just any other day. But you're able to recall it with accuracy, very clear, remembering of that time. Other than that, I remember being in a doctor's office. His doctor was called Dr. Delphon. I had him for maybe till I was maybe 8 years old, maybe 9, maybe younger. But I remember being in his office and hearing this melody, excuse me, and it was "You Can't Hurry Love." by the Supremes. And it was just that melody, and I was like, it just stuck with me. I was like, what is this? And my mom kind of knew who it was, but she didn't have she couldn't say for certain. But I just remember being like, I really like that, and I wanted to hear that again. And I can remember being in the office where I was sitting, and me looking over to my left up into the speaker, like where the music's coming from. I just remember the whole thing, and it's just crazy. Like that moment sticks out to me in my life. It is what do you call it? Innocuous, as it's just as regular as anything else, but it sticks out to me because of that song. If that song had not played and it didn't stick with me, I wouldn't remember that. And I think about that from time to time. It's interesting how that works out. It's like a smell.
I was just gonna say, like, people say
Yeah.
that smells are the strongest, but like sometimes a song can literally take you right back.
Right.
Yeah, definitely make you recall.
In fact, I've never had the smell thing, to be honest. People say you'll be walking on the street and you'll get a whiff of like a smell, and it'll be like, oh, this is like my grandma's house and whatever. And I've never had that, but I do get it. I do get it with music all the time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I imagine, as abhorrent as it sounds, there's going to be a time in my life that if I hear any of the Frozen songs, I'm going to think of my son. You know what I mean? When I'm like 80 years old and I hear "Let It Go," I'm going to be like, "Oh, that was like the first song my son sang." You know,
and be belting it out in a nursing home.
Yeah. And I will be brought back to this moment in my life.
Yeah.
Or if I hear oh my gosh, The Greatest American Hero, I think of the time Chris and I really started clicking. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Driving around in the Topaz. Hey, Chris, hear this song, man.
Topaz, yeah. I
Right?
remember we weren't even driving. We were sitting in your, like, not even your driveway, I guess, like your yard, just sitting in the car,
Right.
just going through cassette tapes. And you said you have to listen to this song, and he plays it, and it was the corniest, cheesiest, greatest song I had ever heard. It was that.
and
Who
there's
can it
moments like that, you know.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
will just bring you to that moment, or music like that. And then there's music that you hear all the time and it may have no effect on you. It might be because you hear it all the time.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's a perfect example. If I ever hear like the Shrek Christmas album, I think of Ray driving me and my brother to like Kmart or Walmart to be picked up by my mom. It's the most random experience ever. Just like driving us in his truck from La Crosse to wherever it was.
I was listening to Shrek Christmas album.
And you had like the Shrek Christmas album.
I vaguely recall this.
Didn't it come with like the DVD or something like that?
I think it did.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It was so random. Like, why did he put that on for us?
Because I hadn't heard it yet and it sucked, I'm sure.
Yeah. Jake, do you have any instances that you can recall, or a music or a song? It's like, oh yeah, I remember this. There's a time in my life.
Well, I guess the only thing really that like really sticks out to me, I think one of like the earliest songs, I think like "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey. Like I think that's probably like one of like the earliest songs I think as like in my youth I can recall, because I remember we lived my family, I grew up in like a military like family. My dad was in the Air Force, so grew up a lot down south. And I think one of the earliest memories I can really recall is like dancing to that song when we lived in South Carolina. And anytime I hear that song, I kind of recall that a little bit. I don't always necessarily think of that, but that's one that like comes straight to mind right out the gate. So
South Carolina. I did not know that. I did not. For some reason, I thought you lived around here your whole life.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So another question here is, are there any other forms of music being used to heal, in quotations here, or treat people, I should say, not necessarily heal, but treat people out there? We had the iPods, just listening to music. I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know exactly what it's called, but like where music is played in the background, there's usually yoga or some sort of meditation going on. Something like that. Yeah. I don't know what that's called.
I don't know either. Relaxing. I don't know. I don't know what that genre would be called.
I guess it depends. There's soundscapes, but there's all those frequencies that supposedly have all these healing. Like 432 is supposed to be.
Right.
I don't know how much of that is true or not. But placebo can be just as effective as a real
Right.
thing sometimes. Uh, then there's sound, like even Christian's part of like yoga and sound healing.
Mhm.
Where you just play music. And the question is there any science behind it? Who knows? And really, who cares? I guess, guess with that type of stuff, because it's the feeling that you get from it.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, it just reminds me of where you're treating like the person themselves as opposed to just what's afflicting them at the moment.
Right.
That has a huge part in people's health and well-being anyway. I didn't know what it was called there. Thought that maybe it might be a name for it all, but
And
yeah.
I mean, there's definitely sound therapy
Yeah.
for sure. That
Mhm.
is a legit thing going on. And the people at Brain Volts are working on they're doing studies on people with sound, teaching people how to distinguish different sounds in a crowd, usually older people, teaching them how to play instruments and things like that, and seeing what kind of health effects it has on them. And it's a ridiculous amount of health effects going on. And it's the same type of thing we're talking about with that documentary, where these people are all of a sudden starting to do things that they haven't been able to do for years, because they're starting to play music, and what they're discovering is it's more about like being able to pick out sounds from crowds, and pick out sounds from a bunch of noise and weird things with the brain that I have no idea what they're talking about. You know what I mean? but it's definitely, it's not because it's music that it's helping people, but music is like the best form of that type of thing, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So
Well, I think that music is like it's the most accessible way to put yourself in a state of a certain frequency. And when you get in certain frequencies, that's when you're able to either remember or heal, or I don't know the other option, but like when
get
even like
angry, get
when
sad.
you have to heal, yeah, when you have to heal something, like when you have to go back into like PTSD and stuff, these people have to remember the things to be able to heal through them. And so like you have to put yourself in that frequency to be able to even like get in that state to be able to heal yourself.
Mhm.
Right.
Um
Talking about frequencies, when you're mentioning the 432, there's some people that probably don't know what you're talking about. Just to clarify here, that's what we used to do with our tuning of our guitars, our instruments, or whatever. We used to, because what's the standard one that the people, is it 440?
A is 440, and
Yeah,
we
440.
tuned to 432.
Tuned to 432 because it's more harmonious, is the idea there, I
Well, that
believe.
was the idea at the time, but the more I've read about it, what actually happened was that 440 was just something that was agreed upon,
Mhm.
because you would have a flute in Germany, and it would be tuned a certain way, and then you'd write music for that, and then you'd go to France. Well, their flutes are tuned in a totally different way, at
Right.
different hertz, different,
Mhm.
432 hertz there, or 440 in Germany. And people were starting to be like, well, we can't like write music for each other, and we can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was like this meeting in England, and they're like, okay, let's just come up with a standard. And when people create instruments, these are what those are going to be. And they ended up being 440. So, and back then, when we started tuning our instruments to 432, somewhere I was reading like, oh, some people got together and they wanted to control us, so they made it
Right.
440,
Yeah,
but
right.
really it was just like, okay, we had to decide on something to help it, help musicians and musician creators,
Mhm.
come up with a standard. So it's kind of funny, like music that was written by Mozart, is super hard for opera singers to sing now. Well, back then it was actually lower because the instruments were tuned.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but just little interesting things with all that. But yeah, it's funny. Sorry to go on a tangent there.
Oh, no, you're fine.
But yeah,
That's
we
good.
did. We used to tune to 432 because it's supposed to be a a better frequency that's more harmonious with nature and all that. And
Well-
I'm like, I don't know, man.
Well, isn't that the same thing as like Maynard from Tool when he talks about somebody asked him like about the song I forget the song's name.
Lateralis.
But it's basically Lateralis about the what's it called?
Based on the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, it's
Or
based
this-
on the Fibonacci
yeah.
sequence, and he's basically like yeah, that was a very pedestrian attempt at
Sophomoric.
it was sophomoric because it
Yep.
was just like it happens in music already.
all the
It's
time.
already time.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So-
yes.
So it's like
That's right. That's right. That it was just the whole hipster trying to be a hipster, and you know what I mean. Like
He
trying
thought he was
to-
onto something and missing
Yeah.
the main point already.
yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna do this, and it's like almost like an ode to the Fibonacci sequence. In the Fibonacci, it's like a meta sort of thing. It ends up being all for naught because it's all of it anyway. So I remember him talking about that. And yeah, I believe he described it as sophomoric, which made me laugh.
yeah, I mean, like it's not that it was like definitely a hipster thing. It was just like we try to think that we know what it is to like heal people or connect with people, and it's like no, it's just be, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and that's funny because it goes back to that where placebo effect can have an effect.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we believe that tuning to 432 makes a difference. Therefore, we exude this vibe of difference, and then the audience responds. So, man, the audience responded better than ever before. It's gotta be because we tuned to 432, man.
On that frequency.
Yeah, it's not because you guys just took mushrooms before.
I remember thinking, I don't care what we're doing as long as if it's let's say if it works, cool. It's kind of a cheaper way. They don't know what's going on. We're just gonna,
Right.
working against them in a sense where they don't realize they're being how do I explain this?
Manipulated.
Yeah, let's throw that word up there. Manipulative. I think there's also the chord progression for like Pachelbel's canon. There are certain progressions that just work with humans in some way that everybody sings it, and Don't Stop Believing is one of those songs.
Yeah.
A number of I can't remember, there's a couple others. A Bohemian Rhapsody. There's a few others where there's like a number of like and of course Pachelbel's canon. So like you'll hear like pop punk bands or Green Day in their early days, or something like that. But they'll play these chords, but they're all essentially Pachelbel's canon, just in a different key.
Right.
And so every time, everyone's like, "Why do I like this song so much? Why is it so?" Oh, it's like almost cheating in a way. If you want you want to write a song that's going to get noticed in some fashion, just write one based off that chord progression. Just change the key, you're good to go. Like I pointed this out a number of times, so I won't say too much on it. But like the Blues Traveler's hook, the whole song's about that.
Right.
The whole song's of like the tongue in cheek. We're just doing this because we know we can get away with it, and there's nothing you can do because you're still going to sing in the choruses. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. It could be. It's like was it the chicken or the egg? What was first type of thing. Like, okay, it's only something that can be manipulated in that way because it's something that we come up with already, which is why we've already come up with it so many times. Is that humans end up wanting to get that note that settles it.
Mhm.
You want to go back to your root or a tonic at least. You know what I mean? And so all those patterns go back to something that's in humans. So is he cheating or is he just being a human? The only cheating is that he's aware. You know what I mean? He's
Right.
aware
Could
of
you?
it,
Is it
know
even
what I mean?
cheating? Yeah. How could? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's still fun. I love that song because of that.
Yeah. And the lyrics, the whole thing. But aside from helping recall memories from our youth, music is used in a variety of ways that benefit our health and well-being. Who here hasn't listened to music when they're sad, happy, anxious, angry, or under some sort of substance-fueled fervor? Why do we do this? Why? I mean, there are many different things that people do, but for me, it's always been music. If I'm happy, I want to listen to a music. If I'm sad, I want to listen to music. If I'm anxious, all that. And there's like music for every emotion one could feel.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not even the music itself so much as maybe it's the lyrics of a song that resonate. Maybe it's the melody and the lyrics. It's a whole combination of things. Why do we do this? I mean, is it ingrained within us? I assume it's something that we've done in some capacity or what another. I mean, from how long have we been on the earth? So I don't know. Why do you guys think we do this?
I've talked quite a bit. I'll let someone else take a shot.
I'd
Jake?
like to hear what Jake
Jake?
has to say.
You
There
got
you
any
go.
thoughts on this?
Uh,
If you don't, it's not like a thing.
No. I mean, I'd say, we listen to there's different types of music for, different feelings. And depending on, how you're feeling, you might gravitate towards a certain type of music. And your taste, I guess, too. Uh,
Oh, for example,
Shoot it.
for you, so like I know you're a big metal head, right? You like
Yeah,
metal
yeah.
music. Okay, so I imagine when you're happy, you listen to metal music,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When you're sad, you listen to metal music.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah. See,
So,
so like for me, when I'm happy, I won't listen to metal music. It's not that I don't find you can be happy and listen. By no means, it's just not my go-to. So
right,
like it's
right, right.
interesting. Yeah. So is there any? Go ahead. So I just.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Finish.
No, it was yeah. So like I said, like I don't my favorites is it's like a stew of things. I don't really know if I could be like a considered like a main liker of this type of music. And like my friend Brad, Brad. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, he's a big metalhead too. All of his stuff, like it's no matter what he's feeling, it's thrash. You know. So it was it's interesting to me. So like if I'm sad, do I here's a more of my point, I guess, is when I'm sad, I listen to things that bring out sadness. Some
Hmm.
people be sad and they want to bring out the opposite. They don't want to be sad. They'll try to listen to a song that makes them happy.
Right.
I'll listen to something that brings out the sadness because it's almost like I want to get it all out,
Okay.
and this
Okay.
helps.
So you're sad. So what you're saying is you're sad, and then you listen to sad music. Just to, I guess, does that make you more sad or?
It's
Generally,
cathartic, I bet.
yeah,
Yeah.
it helps release it in a sense, especially if I can find
Yeah.
a great sad song that the lyrics resonate with what's going on. If I could find that
Yeah. I
trifecta,
guess
that
that's this.
perfect thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Like, if you, like a bad breakup or something, you're listening to, hearts like, breakup songs, essentially, heartthrobby kind of
Yeah.
sad songs. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. I gotcha. Yeah. Shit. What was your point? Sorry. We're going off the
Well,
rails
no, my
here.
point was like with metal music, I don't know how many sad songs there are for metal, so I
Uh,
don't
you know,
know how you go about that.
Not, I mean, metal's such a weird little, there's so many little
Yeah,
subgenres, and that goes with like a lot of different
for
musics.
sure.
There's, different little subgenres with, I mean, a lot of music, but, I mean, there can be, there's I mean, when it comes to metal specifically, I mean, there's a lot of songs that, lyrically, if you're looking at the lyrics, sometimes, depending on what kind of metal you're listening to, you can't even really understand what they're saying. But in the case that you can or somewhat can, I mean, there's some bands out there that, lyrically, they kind of actually come from the heart, and some really
For
good
sure. Yeah.
lyricists out there
Oh yeah.
that talk about real like kind of sad things. One thing that comes specifically to mind not too long ago is a hardcore band named Knocked Loose. I don't know if you ever heard of them. Put out an EP, and it's basically like the whole EP is just basically about grief and loss, which
Mhm.
is something we can all relate to. So I think when it just comes to it, no matter whatever your emotion is, if you can relate to whatever the lyrics are, if you're gravitating towards the lyrics, if you can relate to it, and then, you're with base whatever your emotion is, you're definitely going to feel that. Um, but for yeah, I mean, there are songs in metal that can make you happy, make you excited, or there's stuff that you can kind of gravitate if you're feeling down and whatnot. So
Mm. Like I guess the follow up with that is like why do we do that? Why do we? I mean, I imagine to I don't know balance ourselves in some way because you don't want to be or whatever we're going through to get it up to I don't know, like Ray says, cathartic, just to get it out there. I'm not sure. I don't have an answer for
no,
necessarily why anybody would do, necessarily. I mean, obviously it's beneficial. It's helped a lot of people, millions and millions. It's helped me. So, although I couldn't tell you exactly why, I almost think of it, for me, it's almost like a meditation.
Yeah,
no. I'll listen to music through a whole wide range of emotions, and
well, I think to add to that, man, like
go on.
when I'm super depressed and I get very depressed, most of my time actually, so like 6 weeks probably out of a few months, I'm depressed, and I listen to things and I show somebody, and somebody that's usually like a happy person or a positive person will say that sounds super depressing, and I'm like, that sounds hopeful to me. And and I think it's the same like concept of like the frequency. Like maybe you're going to like, what balances you is getting to the free, like not saying that depression is necessarily a bad thing, and that those like sounds and that like melancholy, that like, even just to be straight up, like Smashing Pumpkins can give you, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that, like, what's that album called, the Infinite Sadness or whatever?
No, Melancholy and the
Um,
Infinite Sadness. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like it just like it tunes you into something that like you're like, this sound justifies what I'm feeling, or it like balances what I'm feeling.
Mm.
And it's okay, like it's okay to go through this and to feel this all. Um yeah, that's what I have.
Well, maybe it's
Well,
all back to connection in a sense, where you feel like it relates to me.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
understands where
Right.
I'm at. I know what they're talking about.
I
At
can
least how I
relate.
perceive it.
Yeah.
Yeah, how
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
can
can
perceive
relate
that.
to that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't that go back to like the people, these older seniors or whatever, that remember a time or a song, and it's just because it relates to that memory,
Yep.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That they can relate to that time and place because they lived it. So when they hear music that brings up those memories,
Probably
they're
brings a
back there.
flow of,
Yeah.
flow of emotions and
Yeah.
memories
Maybe
that have
even
been kind
smell.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That have been pretty much repressed because of, said disease that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
well, I think it would be, just to kind of go with that, it's a resonance. Uh, so, they've been discovering that we have emotions and fears and all this stuff that's actually passed down through DNA. So that's why some people react to different music. This is my speculation, right? That's why some people could possibly react to different music in different ways. And you combine that with the way they're raised and all that. And then these, just like a tuning fork, you hit one tuning fork and the other one will vibrate if it's at the same resonance, right?
Hmm.
These notes in these songs, because it's not just the lyrics, it is the lyrics, but the notes in these songs literally resonate on a molecular level
Hmm.
with your body, and it does whatever it needs to do to make you feel. You know what I mean? That's what I think is happening with these people that are just waking up, is these memories, because sound and music is so, it requires almost the whole brain to process it, because you have the rhythm and you have the different frequencies, and then you have the intervals between the frequencies, and you got to hold on to the first note to know what the last note means.
Hmm.
And you know what I mean, all this stuff is
Yeah.
going on, and your emotions are at a certain state, and then you hear this song, and then all that stuff starts shaking, right?
Hmm.
Because it's resonating, and then it just shakes loose all of that calcification of being like in your own world of no sound, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And then these people start to wake up because of it. And the same thing with like depression, it resonates, it shakes that. And sometimes you just need to be shook,
Yeah.
to be alive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the way I kind of view what's happening.
I almost feel like you're reading my notes here, because the very next part that I'm going to read here in my outline is almost. I'm just going to read it, and just remember what Ray just said, and we'll see how I said. So the next part is, maybe to even get to the how, perhaps we should start at what music is. How would each of you describe? This is going to be the most far outreaching. Go ahead and talk outside the box as much as you want. How would each of you describe music? What is happening to make music? We hear notes, chords, harmonies, but why do they sound so appealing to us? Is it ingrained, or is it societal? Maybe a mixture of both. For example, I'm not too keen on the Peruvian flute groups. However, people from Peru love it.
Right.
It brings out the same emotions that I get from music that I'm favorable to. So again, Ray's kind of like pretty much in around where I'm at there. So yeah, I mean, if you break it down to the very basics, yeah, it's a vibration. It's almost like manipulating. Because even what, like, I would get like really metaphysical with it, like sound, like manipulating sound. What is sound? And is it your eardrums that are permitting the sound, or is the sound there?
Right.
Right. What are we doing, and how does this all relate? It's almost like how um I don't know, because Chris was talking about Lateralis earlier. There's a video that people made on Lateralis where it's just got like galaxies and such, and showing you the spiraling galaxies and the spirals and the Fibonacci sequence, how it all ties in. It's all the same mathematical. How it's all connected in some way. And just, I don't mean like maybe like a direct connection, but it's all related. It's all what was the word you used, Ray? Not related, but
Resonate.
it all with each other. So it's all kind of very similar in that sense. So what are we doing? What's happening to make music? What are we doing here? So like, I hit a string, the string on the guitar, it just it vibrates, and you look it up, a guitar string up close, and we all play guitar. I know Christian plays the drums mostly, but he's played guitar before.
Mhm.
You hit that string and you look at it up close, and it's going crazy.
Oh
Mhm.
Like
yeah.
so much,
Oh yeah.
and it's
Vibrating.
just an insane amount, and you're just one little pluck, and that's it. But
Mhm.
all that just and it just it I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't have the science to it. Don't have that in front of me. But I could not tell you um how crazy it is. And then you put your fingers in a few specific spots, and you strum 6 strings in a row, and they all vibrate at the same time, but they all, if you do it correctly, emit like this, I don't know, let's say a C chord, and it's just this perfect, and it's just, oh my God, and how does it feels almost like unfair that you're able to do that, yeah, in a sense. But what do you guys think about that? How would each of you describe, like a music? And I mean, that's kind of vague, but just give it the old college try.
Well, I guess I could start with saying like that one note is infinite. Um and then to quote Ray, music is everything. And then to go even a deeper into my personal life, like going into therapy and doing something called what is it, rapid eye movement, not
REM.
not REM, but it's a therapy type of thing called shit, I can't think of what it's called right now. But basically he I went to a traumatic time of my life, I guess, and he went through this rapid eye movement sequence where he had like a popsicle stick in front of my face, and I told him about a time that basically I an experience I had with my father, and how I he said, as I go through this, I'm gonna have you stare at the popsicle stick as I go back and forth, and I want you to stare at it, and then I want you to close your eyes and basically breathe, and then tell me on a 1 to 10 how much this affects you. And then he went back to the popsicle stick and said, "Stare at the popsicle stick as I go back and forth." And he said, "Watch this." And now, like, take me back to this time. Um, what did this moment make you feel? And as you walked in and as you saw your father, and there's a lot of details to it that I'll spare you guys on. But basically, as I went through, he said, "What did you feel right there?" And at first, it was like, these physiological feelings. And then I went into, uh, I, I, I just went abstract as we kept going into this, and I started saying tone and even color and vibration and rhythm. And by the end of the session, he said, on a 1 to 10, how does this affect you now? And I said, like a 0, as in it didn't bother me, because I guess I was thinking that a 10 meant bothered and a 0 meant unaffected.
Yeah.
And even now, as I talk about it, I realize even that was ridiculous, in a way. But I realized, like, all of that moment that I had with my dad that I felt like was traumatic turned into music for me.
Mm.
And that I was playing a certain part of the song and he was playing a certain part of the song. So I guess as far outreaching as I could get,
Gotcha.
Oof.
music is literally every moment of my life. And whether I practice on the drums every day of my life or I practice on the synthesizer every day of my life, everything, even this moment now, is literally just us all playing a song together.
Yeah. I mean,
True, man.
if you go down to like just the notes or tones in our voice, I may talk in an E flat. I don't know. You know, I have no idea what note my voice sounds. I mean, like bells and stuff like that. You'd be like a school bell, or maybe not even that. Maybe some sort of like intercom bell that comes up. Like you hear that same thing over and over again. You'll be able to go home and if you play, for long enough, you got a decent enough ear. You could hit the same note on your instrument that you hear. That's the same as that bell that rings, which is interesting. You don't really think about it because it's not. I mean, you heard of the cowbell, but just like like a bell in that sense. It's just or a bike chain or a clap or something like that. What noise does that make? And what chord is that? What key is that? That's it's interesting. It's all there. I mean, if you base it on how we think of music, in a scale of sorts, where you can see where it would land on that. It's very interesting. And again, it goes back to how would you describe music? What's really happening there? And how does that all relate to us in some way? And it just how it seems to be it's ingrained in absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it you don't really well you don't hear it often where it's described in such a way. Usually it's like a top 40 sort of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
It gets very odd when you start getting into some of the details of what is happening with music. Um, just for instance, I can't remember the song. I'll have to look it up. But there's an old choir, like old choir song, and it was the title of it is something like "The Angels Sing" or something. Well, what's happening is all these people are singing. Well, there's 5 people singing, and they're singing harmonies in a certain way. Well, the way our brains work, and we fill in gaps with certain things. So there's 5 people singing. You hear 6 voices singing
Mm,
because of the
yeah.
harmonics. So that's like earbuds and these small speakers, they'll play the harmonics of something so that your brain thinks you're hearing this very low frequency that those speakers actually cannot play. So your brain fills in so much, kind of like the blind spot on your eye, you know what I mean? How it
Yeah.
fills in your brain with music, fills in so much information that it's just baffling. Like, so it is to do with math is connected with it because it's all the frequencies. Like say, let's just for to make it easy, let's say you got a frequency of 100 hertz. All the harmonics of that would be a multiple of that. So you'd have 200, 300, 400. Now, if you don't play the 100 hertz and you play 200, 300, 400, 500, you're going to hear the 100 hertz. So your brain, your brain is just doing all this crazy stuff with music. And that's just to hear a note.
Yeah.
That's just that part of it. And then, like I said earlier, it's just like language where I can start a sentence saying the cow, and then that has infinite amount of possibilities after it. It's the same thing. Like you start a song with, the note C, and then where it ends up, who knows? But you have to hold on to the fact that that first note was played, and the whole song is tied to that. And if you somehow don't, like I had mentioned earlier, like fall back to the root or go to the tonic or whatever, then you feel like something's left out, which sometimes is fantastic, right? But that's why people want that note to be hit again, so it's settled, and it's just like, I think it's a language. I think music is a language. There's debate on if we sang before we talked. Some people say we talked before we sang, or we talk, and singing is a kind of an after effect of talking. But others say, we probably sang first. Look at birds singing. And I'm, of course I'm in that camp, right? We probably sang first, just because singing, unlike language, singing and music, it doesn't create boxes like it does, like language does. You know what I mean? It's just about that resonance and that emotion, and each individual, it creates their own box for it, but that's it. You know what I mean? Like it could be something totally different for you or me or Christian or Jake. And so, and yes, I'm definitely with Christian music. I mean, and George Harrison, who loved Hinduism, because he's like, yeah, they're basically saying like everything's vibration, everything's music, right? Cool, I'm with that. You know what I mean? And I gotta say, yeah, I mean, music is our closest understandable representation of what the universe is, which is vibration. That's to me, that's it. It's the first sense that we have as we're being developed as a human being, because in the womb you're blind, you can't smell anything except, I don't know if you can, you're filled with fluids, right? You all you can do is maybe see a faint glow, probably not, right? But it's one thing's for certain, in the womb we hear, and we hear our mom's heartbeat, right? And so that's the rhythm of our life at the beginning, and then we hear people talking, and you know what I mean? It's just sound is just, it's so powerful. And nowadays we focus so much on vision, and I think we've lost a lot of, what we, out in nature, you had to be so aware of the sound, right? Otherwise you'd be dead. You know what I mean? Like, something's gonna, hunting you, you better fucking hear it, you know what I mean? But I think it's just, music is just so, it's a representation of the universe, while also being the soul of humanity. That's just my opinion. But
again, I feel like you've read.
Oh no!
So I'm gonna read this next part here, and we'll just see how many hit on here. Music is a great tool to help facilitate the language barrier we sometimes face. It is also that's the first sentence. It is also a great method of bringing people of opposite viewpoints and lifestyles together. It's why the phrase music is the language of the world holds so much weight. There have been a few times in my life where I have been able to connect with people who I would have otherwise wouldn't if not for music. Just to get that real quick, so I had that music is a language of the world. I had that written down on a brick in a music room in high school. That was my ode to the school before I left. And I've heard music as language, and like mathematics are the language of the universe. I've heard that too.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. But my story here, I'm going to go with one of my favorites of a time where, had it not been for music, it would have been, I don't really think anything else would have happened. It would have been move on to the next thing. So, remember the remember the website Chat Roulette? Okay, so one time
Vaguely.
my Nick, who's been on the podcast a handful of times, Nick, we both I was living in La Crosse at the time. He's like, "You ever been on Chat Roulette?" And I said, "Yeah." There's an insane amount of people showing their dicks on that. And he's like, "Yeah, but sometimes you just get random people, and I like to play music, and like they'll ask me to play a song. If I know it, I'll play it." And I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting." He's like, "Yeah, so you want to give that a shot?" And I was like, "Yeah, if we can just get through all the dicks." And there were a lot. There were a lot. I won't lie to you. But in between the slew of penises, there was a room full of this Mexican family. Didn't speak any English. We didn't speak any Spanish, really. And we're just staring at each other. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell. And so I know a little bit of a Spanish riff song-esque. It's very standard classic. It would almost, it's close to almost being a stereotype, but it's Spanish music. But I know it.
Gotcha.
And I start playing it, and they started dancing around and like laughing and like taking their drinks. They're not shitting you, Coronas, and like like lifting up and like and I went to go like
They probably did do that though.
No, they did. They were dancing around like that.
Yeah,
It was they were like screaming and like not screaming, but they were like, "Holy shit, this random guy."
Gringo.
This Guido knows this.
Yeah.
Gringo
Diablo
knows it.
Gringo Diablo is playing something we know. Yeah, it's just but they started dancing around, and I went to go like enlarge the screen or something. I accidentally hit skip, and it was a penis. But
No.
yeah, and I was like, no, because you can't go back and Chat Roulette. You can't go back. But for that moment, it was like all I did was play a song, and immediately I was in. They would have, there was this connection there, and I love playing that type of music, and they love hearing it. And there are plenty of times where people that I otherwise would never hang out with or talk to, but they like the same band I do. They like this music in the same way, like maybe sports or other things like that. But music has a way of bridging that language barrier that you otherwise wouldn't, that you have. So if you go like to like I was saying, like I think in Iran, Lionel Richie's huge. So if you were to like go to Iran and play like Lionel Richie songs, you'd be pretty popular, as long as you did it well.
Interesting.
It just the fact that you could play this, I know this song, and it I guarantee you it brings like the same emotions or something like, through them as well. It's just like I said, the language barrier. We don't talk. We have a hard way communicating, even with like facial reactions and how things are handled, how society in that society handles different things like Americans would do differently. Like in Japan, everyone's extremely quiet and very polite. In America, you're on like in a subway or something like that. But in like New York City, I'm imagining it's not nearly the same thing.
Right.
And so there's so many different things. But like someone from Japan and someone from New York City, although they behave different ways in public and stuff like that, they both like this band or something like that, and there's a connection there, or some sort of music they both both love. So there's something that it brings people together in this way, and obviously in other ways as well. It just it was one of those times. Has there ever been a time where music has brought you and others together that you probably wouldn't have otherwise? Can you guys think of any time that may have happened in your life?
I could just say like at a concert or something, if you're next to people that like know like the words to a song, maybe you're like singing it together or something. That's like the first thing that just kind of comes to me right away. So I don't know if you guys have anything a little bit better.
Right.
I mean, I grew up in like church, so, and not just grew up in it. I mean, I haven't gone to church in a couple of years, but worship music is huge, like for connecting myself to so many other people. And not just even in like a superficial way, just literally like on this like spiritual level of we're all fucking human beings that are on this fucking flying thing through space, trying to figure out why the fuck we're even here.
Was this the last sermon
And
you heard?
That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, the sermon of Joe Rogan.
He's just I tell you, we're fucking here. We're fucking Sorry, go on.
I mean, honestly, that would be a fucking awesome sermon.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
it would be.
Yeah, I'd
But,
go back.
like-
I'd go back.
But like for real, like it just like somehow, and of course it's the same thing. Like most of that worship music it's like a 4-chord cheap drug type of structure that
Yeah, like don't stop
it's
believing.
the same thing that
It's the
same
epic
thing
chord
that pop
structure.
music uses.
Yeah. Yep.
But still, like when you connect that way with other human beings, like hundreds of them, you're just like, why am I feeling this way? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to that, but
Well,
yeah.
and on a more personal level, probably the whole reason my wife and I have been married for going on 20 years is because of music. Because we worked together, she was my boss, and I had kind of attempted to, flirt with her or whatever. She had a strict policy of no working for the help or no going out with the help or whatever. Anyway, one day I was singing the songs from Moulin Rouge, the movie, and she happened to love that movie too. And then she was like, "Oh, you want to go not on a date, but like you want to go to Denny's after work or whatever?" And I was like, "Okay," because she started singing the song with me and whatnot, so we kind of clicked in that way. And then the rest is history. We have 2 children. We've been together for, like I said, going on 20 years. And I'm not saying we wouldn't have gotten together if I wasn't singing Moulin Rouge, but probably had something to do with the beginnings there. For sure, music was definitely a big part there.
Well, Jamie was in choir, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so she was big on that. So
Yeah. And just kind of a side, definitely connected note with the different cultures and everything, and how music can affect people, and you don't even know what the language is or whatever, but there's always this familiarity with music, even if it's from somewhere else. It might sound a little different, but if you really listen to it, especially like say music from India, it definitely at first sounds a little different, but if you start to listen to it, then you start to pick up on these same patterns that we in the West use, and they've discovered that the pentatonic scale has been discovered independently in almost every culture throughout the world. Cultures that weren't connected in any way. So it's like, is this something in humans to come up with this and there's a fantastic thing where Peter Frampton, the dude that sings Don't Worry, Be Happy. But he's actually a genius.
No, you're talking about Bobby.
Not Peter, yeah, Bobby McFerrin. Sorry,
Bobby
I said
McFerrin.
Peter Frampton. Yeah, Bobby McFerrin. There's a fantastic thing where he's in front of a crowd and he's like jumping, and he's doing these. When he jumps, he would do a note with his mouth, and then he would jump to the next step and do a note with his mouth, and then he keeps jumping, and then he has the crowd doing those notes as he's jumping, and then he starts doing it, and then he jumps up to like 2-3 different notes, and he doesn't let the crowd know what note he's about to do, and they do the correct notes just by watching him on stage jump. And it's the pentatonic scale, and that's his whole thing, is like there's something very powerful and weird about this scale that everybody's connected to. But anyway, that's definitely a side note. But
Bobby McFerrin, you said?
Bobby, I said Pete. What did I say? Peter Frampton. But yeah, Bobby McFerrin, the guy that sang.
He's in the documentary Alive Inside.
Oh, that's right. He is. Yes, he is. He's something else. You should definitely check him out.
Yeah, isn't Peter Frampton from?
He's the guy that sings has the guitar that.
He's got
can you feel like I do or whatever?
do you feel
And
like I do?
do you feel like I do? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got the voice box that he's
Yeah, yeah,
using.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
that
forget who said it, but they said they were like researchers of, kind of like cultures around the world, and they said dance and music was the only thing that was common between all cultures
Oh,
in all
yeah.
of the world.
I believe it for sure. And it's
Yeah.
actually just recently in human history that musicians and everybody else is kind of they've been separated from each other. Like, oh, those people play music. I just listen to music. Music used to just be what people did. And there's
Mhm.
still cultures now that if you visit and you say, oh no, I can't sing, they'd be like, what the they wouldn't even be able to comprehend what you're saying because it's just what human beings do is they do music, you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Well,
Yeah.
it's so
But
funny because we do this, thing where people are doing yoga while we play music, and the owner of the place that holds this event, said, "Why don't you come to one of the yoga things?" And I was like, "All right, we'll see." Um, I didn't think I was going to go just because I had family stuff going on, but she's like, you can receive other than just give. And I'm just like, me playing music is
is
receiving
receiving
just as much. I feel like I'm
exactly
receiving more than I'm giving when I play
right.
music,
It's so
so
true. That is so true,
Yeah, for sure.
especially if you get in a good zone.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, obviously, I know Ray and I and Christian. Jake, have you ever played live music with somebody? Like, have you been in a band or anything of that sort, or maybe like a
Yeah.
Christmas concert? I thought you had. Yeah,
Yeah. I had me and Nick's old high school buddy,
that's right.
Zach. We had like a little like a just a stupid little garage band.
For
So
sure.
yeah, I mean, we played some shows and stuff. I mean, we were set to open up. I remember like we had a couple like big opportunities for some actually like you guys probably wouldn't know their names or anything, but a couple like actually decent named bands. But yeah, we played for like a couple years in high school, and I think like a year or two after in college.
Well, and I'll just change it. So all of us have played music live. What are the benefits of live music as opposed to listening to it in the comforts of your own home? And is there a stark difference, or is it just kind of preference? Can you get the same thing
It's
out of?
entertainment, really. I mean, both are entertainment.
Mhm.
But you get excited to go to a concert. It's like I don't know, it'd be like the same saying. I mean, I'm okay with like watching movies at home, but like going to go see like a premiere for something,
Mhm.
I guess like, that's really exciting. There's a little bit more, I guess, energy to it maybe just because it's live.
What about like you're playing the live
Oh,
music?
I'm playing the live music. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what you meant. Sorry,
Yeah. No,
sorry.
you're right. You're right.
Oh yeah, I mean that's more exciting, for sure, like being able to like just perform and whatnot. I mean, it's fun playing at home.
Mhm.
But that's, being
Nice.
able to go and play in front of a crowd of people and feeling like them like kind of vibe off that.
Mhm.
Even playing with friends, I'm sure you guys can, if you're playing with a group of people at home, that's still fun. Like, everything's in sync, you're playing real like well, that's fun. But then, being in front of a crowd of people and, you're feeling the energy, you're giving off some good energies that you're giving off the music, and hopefully they're giving, reciprocating that to back to you, or, maybe they're booing you, and that wouldn't be as fun. But um
Yeah.
yeah, that's my kind of thoughts.
That's also my bad. I should have put I should play music live opposed to playing it in the comforts of your own home. I put listening. I'm not sure. That's my bad. But yes,
No, no,
playing it live. For me, playing music live, I like when it goes well. I have this issue. I have this thing where it's like when it goes south, it's kind of like it's like a comic bombing. I imagine you just want to crawl in a hole and die.
Mhm.
Um, but when you've got it going, the crowd is into it. Um, it's probably it might be the most powerful drug on the planet. Honestly, it's quite something. Where I've had to like stop myself. My heart skipped a beat one time. Everything was going so well. I thought I was gonna die. Like I was like, I got nervous. But I remember being like, I had to tell Ray to stop saying my name when it was my turn to do a solo or something like that, because he'd throw me off. I'm in the middle of everything, and then I just hear, "Get it, Chris!" I'm like, huh? Oh God, it's my
Go say
time to
my
get
name,
it.
please.
Must be my time to get it. I can't be getting it. It's been gotten. I've lost it. I've lost it. And yeah, I got better at laughing about, you know, things that don't end so well or go so well for the night. It is what it is, but there is something to be said for playing music live and everyone being, you know, involved in it. I've been fortunate on a few occasions, even when I just did it on my own, just doing like an open mic set or something. I'd have people, I've had they just get up, and start dancing, and they're like, really enjoying what I'm playing, and it's a good feeling. Um, because like Christian was saying, this is more for me almost more than it is for you. Because yeah, it kind of is. I wanted to do it for myself. I didn't get up there to necessarily entertain people. That although I enjoyed like to doing that, it's kind of selfish. This is more for me. That I want to do this because I enjoy doing this, and I from time to time enjoy playing in front of people.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's fair.
that's kind of the way I looked at it. But I don't know if
Which is
anybody.
kind of a fascinating. Sorry to cut you
No,
off,
no, you're good.
but it's a fascinating thing that I know is not unique to musicians, but it's definitely something in there where a lot of musicians, you being one of them, you're not really a people person. You don't really like going out and hanging out with crowds of people. But if you know you're going to put on a good show, you're going to do it.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to love it. And I'm
Mhm.
the same way. I'm not a people person, but I apparently am, because you're right, there's nothing like that when
Yeah.
when everything goes, and not like everything has to go perfect, but when the energy of the crowd
Mhm.
is, and you're like Jake was saying, and you feed off of that energy, and then they feed off that energy, and it's like this feedback loop between the
Mm-hmm.
crowd and the musicians. It's some type of, like, yeah, it could be like a drug, but it could be like the ceremony of church. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
that energy that's just going between you two. It is just, I can't, it's hard to describe it. And the only time I've felt it is doing drugs, outside
Right.
of that.
Yeah.
And I'm going, that's what this is. That's what this is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just music. There's something with music. And I don't think it is only music,
Yeah.
but it's definitely probably the easiest way to access that, is music and dancing, because I feel like it's so integral to humanity. And I feel kind of horrible for saying that, because I know there are deaf people. So I can't, because I'm not trying to say they're not human, because that's not what I'm saying at all.
All right.
But they're, even they can feel it. They may not hear what we hear, but they do feel, and they've done studies to show, like, oh, they get some of the same emotional reactions that hearing people get from the music playing. So
Mm.
something with the vibrations, obviously.
Well, I
But
mean, if somebody heard us and then they heard Beethoven, they'd probably think we were deaf.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. As I say, Beethoven's probably the most famous one, which is really funny because this is, just a side note here. I not too long ago I got a notification from Spotify letting me know that Beethoven had a new album out. I love technology. Yeah, it's been a while since his last one. I don't remember. Talk about longevity.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Beethoven's probably the most famous of deaf musicians, composers,
Yeah.
where he wrote an entire symphony, just based off of vibrations.
And some argue his best.
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty good argument. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Christian, for playing live, is there, you might have already spoke your piece on this. We're getting towards we might move this into a two-part episode here, because I got a little bit left, but I feel like we've only like kind of scratched the surface in a way, So, yeah.
I I know that me and Ray could go for like 4
Oh
or
yeah.
5 hours.
Oh yeah. Easy.
Oh, for sure.
What was the question again? Say
I says,
that.
well, all of us have played music live. What are the benefits of live music as opposed to playing it in the comforts of your own home?
Yeah, man. So there's so many different experiences, and I think that as I grow older and I experience more experiences, I guess, um, that it just continues to change for me. Like what I will say though is that when I used to play to entertain, it felt more like a drug, as in if that I went to play like um a, a show in Chicago, and I would do an awesome show at a freaking amazing venue, and everything would go right, or sometimes it would go wrong, and it didn't matter. So like there's still the same aspects that I'm gonna speak to as in my future experiences, but it would be this amazing experience where I would be super high and we would all be super high off of it. And we'd load in uh and we'd play this fucking amazing show, and then we'd load out and we'd be like in the truck like just going, what the fuck just happened? That was the most amazing experience of my life. Like you were doing this, Maddie, you were doing this, Mike, and we would just like recap this whole thing for like an hour, you know?
Mhm.
And then on the way home at some point, with like 30 to 40 minutes left to get home, it would be silent. And everyone would be like, what the fuck just happened? We'd all be tired, and not just tired, but then we would somewhat get depressed. Like, why aren't we still there?
Oh, I
And
see. Yeah,
Just
it
like a
always
drug,
felt
yeah.
like a
it
come
always
down.
Yeah.
felt like there was something like, why why do we feel like shit right now? And then like for the next couple days we would all kind of like disappear. And I think that it was like this like you said, it's a drug, but it's also like this like something we built up to, and we did it, and then it was like, fuck, I don't know what just happened. But then you know what never happened in those moments was when we would have rehearsals and we would come up with this music, and then we would go home. We wouldn't go home depressed, we would go home inspired, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
such a different fucking feeling. um so I think now in my life I go home inspired after we play in front of people or with people, and that's what I try to tell people all the time. It's like even when she said like you can receive other than just give, it was like there's a switch that's happened in my years now where I'm like, this is more important to the collective of all of us, and it's something we all need. And then like the music actually is created from everybody and not just the people playing the music in quotations.
Hmm.
It's actually we're all doing this together. And then I don't go home feeling like, fuck, man, like I need another one of those or else I'm gonna fucking die. I still do feel like I'm gonna die if I don't have music in my life, but it's not like I need to be on a stage in front of hundreds of people to do it, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well,
Damn, that was pretty intense.
well,
Wow.
yeah. Really, there's not really much for me to add to that. I pretty much, I think I've said my piece on that. Yeah, I mean, it's just the way that I am. My personality. I mean, I when I think back of all the times I played music, I can think of just with just as clarity of doing well, but more so, I think of things that went wrong, and I remember those. And like for instance, playing a show, getting excited to play this festival show in my hometown. I'm all ready to go. I've got my guitar out, got new strings on it. I start playing it, and I realize about 30 seconds into warm up that my I think that was the B string broke or something
Oh,
like that. It's usually the G string, but it was a no, B string or something. I would find out later that it was Nick who broke it and didn't want to tell me and put it back in the guitar. And so I go to play it, and he's like,
That's funny.
yeah. But I remember being like, oh my God. And now it's like the show's starting in like, 10 minutes, and I've got to find a guitar. I end up borrowing a guy's acoustic electric guitar, which is a lot harder to play over an hour or
Mhm.
so than my light light strings, no big deal sort of electric guitar.
Right.
But so my hand was killing me by the end of that show, and I remember that. But I remember like playing at was that TJ Maloney's? Is a former bar in the area, hotel
yeah.
bar, where we were doing a St. Patty's Day weekend. We used to play there for pretty much all, like, at least once a month. Anyway,
Yeah.
everyone got there was like a busload of people that were doing like bar hops, and they got to that bar, and we were in the middle of our set, and we busted out "Shipping Up to Boston," the Dropkick Murphys song, and they went nuts, and they started
Yeah.
like jumping around, and somebody fell into our equipment, and that made me mad a bit because I was kind of like, come on now, but at the same time, it's just like this isn't just some cheap shit. You just gonna spill beer on it, you destroy everything. That's me. I'm the guy that get off my lawn, just enjoy it. Just you can just jump over there, or whatever. I remember stuff like that. I remember people coming up to me sometimes after a set, and saying good job and stuff like that. And I'm kind of real shy about that sort of thing, so I'm just kind of like, thank you, and just let me be on my way.
Right.
I don't want to delve into what were you thinking. I wasn't thinking. I was thinking, hopefully, don't screw this up. That's what I'm thinking. You know, that's what I'm thinking. But there are plenty of moments where I'm not thinking at all, and we're just playing. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are a lot of times. I mean, was it where Jamie would get she'd leave because all we would do is we do these warm ups and for our practice sessions, and we would just play for
Yep.
30 minutes straight, like the same
Just
two
random
chords,
stuff. Yeah.
and just go off of that and just keep playing and just keep riffing. And I think that's my personal opinion. If you want to be a better musician, the best way to go about that is just to play with other people and do that as often as you
Right.
can. That'll really help you out. As long as somebody has some solid way of playing, and they've got a good foundation, and they're that you can go off that. Because I guess if everyone plays together but everyone's off, it doesn't make a difference. But as long as somebody knows something, go off that.
Right.
But yeah, I guess we'll move on here to the next point here. Is that at this point, I'm going to take the time to introduce. His name has been mentioned a handful of times already. One of my most absolute favorite people that I've discovered in the past 20 years, Alan Watts. He was a speaker, writer, and philosopher from Chislehurst, England, known for interpreting and popularizing Japanese, Chinese, and Indian traditions of Buddhist, Taoist, and Hindu philosophy for a Western audience. In one of his many lectures, which you can find online, usually with some epic piano piece playing in the background, he talks about how existence or life is best described with analogy through music. Part of the genesis for this whole talk was this excerpt from his speech, which I will now read. He says, existence, the physical universe, is basically playful. There is no necessity for it whatsoever. It isn't going anywhere. That is to say, it doesn't have some destination that it ought to arrive at. But it is best understood with analogy with music, because music, as an art form, is essentially playful. We say you play the piano, you don't work the piano. Why? Music differs from, say, travel. When you travel, you are trying to get somewhere. One doesn't make the end of a composition the point of the composition. If that were so, the best conductors would be the ones who played fastest, and there would be composers who wrote only finales. People would go to concerts to hear one crashing chord because that's the end. Say when dancing, you don't aim at a particular spot in the room. That's where you should arrive. The whole point of the dancing is the dance. We think of life by analogy with a journey, with a pilgrimage, that had a serious purpose at the end, and the point was to get to that end, success or whatever it is, or maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to dance or to sing while the music was being played. And that's one of my favorite little excerpts
So perfect
from his lectures. the idea that you use life, existence, use music as an analogy for that
Yeah.
is, I think, is quite good. It's another thing that you could, beneficial for music is that it also gives you a good. If you look at life in that way of living in the here and now, that would be it. It's basically saying, live for this moment and enjoy it because the end is not the point. The end is just everything in between is, and so
Just
that's
fucking sing, man.
yeah. So yeah. Any I don't know if there's really any thoughts to that. I mean, it's hard to even be in the same. It's hard to say anything after that. It's so eloquently put and so well said.
Yeah,
Well, I
he's
think,
he's the
like-
worst at that. at making everybody else be quiet.
Right.
Go
Well,
ahead,
something
Christian,
that just
sorry.
like, no, it's just something that kind of comes to mind like immediately that's happened this past week is talking to my cousin Tony and Ray's brother, obviously. For listeners that don't know. Is that Tony said something about his yoga instructor and how he said diving into something as deeply as you possibly can in life. And I think that's something that like me and Ray definitely feel that we lack in sometimes with music or art in general. And then you think of like just bands like to go to metal, like Jake would know, like Meshuggah, where it's like the drummer can literally be doing a 3/4 on the kick drum and then doing a 4/4 on the fucking ride.
Mhm.
And it's like these people, you may think that they're just going at something completely scientific or mathematical, but they're actually doing it as a play and just diving so deeply into something to just fuck your own mind up with this like crazy rhythmic pattern
Like a
and to
polyrhythm.
like the polyrhythms that
Mhm.
happen. A polyrhythm is almost a perfect example of what Alan Watts is talking about. To play, but then to also be like, I'm just gonna fucking do this all the way. Yeah, so funny. Funny you bring that up.
I was gonna say, Danny Carey, the drummer for Tool,
Yeah.
one of the things that
Jesus.
he said that people say like, well, you can play the drums, and someone said, I can keep a beat. He hates that. Apparently, he hates you can keep the idea of the drums is not just to keep the beat. You're supposed to play the drums along to the song, and if that requires you to do 3/4 on this and 7/8 for the or eight, whatever it is, his innumerable changes. He has, I think, one song alone and it's like 47, and he's just insane. I don't know how he does it. He's incredibly gifted drummer. I think worth the price of admission just to see Tool, just to see him.
Oh, I
No,
saw
right.
Tool in March.
Yeah.
Fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I saw him twice in the span of a week.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was very good, very good. So, yeah. Well, I mean, if you guys have nothing else to add here, I guess we can wrap it up.
Oh, there's always stuff to add, but we'll let you.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll save it for a continuation. This conversation is not over. We're just taking a break.
Okay.
We'll just we'll swing back around to it. All right. Well, and with that, I hope you enjoyed listening to our conversation, and will join us again for another installment of History with Hersaphat. Don't forget to hydrate, exercise, and to like and subscribe to the podcast. All these things are essential for your health and well-being. Take care of yourselves and each other.